I found her packing her bags at 3 eyes. She quickly said, "This is my life. I'll leave whenever I want." I just gave her the keys. When she returned a week later, hoping to get her back, I discovered that her replacement had redecorated the room and changed the Wi-Fi password. The clock on the nightstand glowed a faint red. 3:00 a.m. The house was silent, except for the faint rustle of fabric and the muffled sound of zippers. I opened my eyes to see Emily crouched near the closet, stuffing clothes into a suitcase. The faint moonlight spilling through the blinds caught her face. Hollow, restless, determined. She didn't notice I was awake. Her hands moved fast, desperate, like she was afraid if she slowed down, she'd change her mind. "Emily," said softly. She flinched, nearly dropping a pair of heels, then straightened, her eyes wild. "Don't start, Daniel. This is my life. I'll leave whenever I want." Her voice cracked, but her chin lifted in defiance. I sat up slowly. After 6 years of marriage, this wasn't the first fight, but it was the first time she had taken it this far. My instinct was to beg, to hold her back, to tell her I could change whatever she thought was broken. But instead, I felt an eerie calm wash over me, as if some part of me had been waiting for this moment. "Then go," I said. She froze, her eyes searching mine, as if expecting me to grab the suitcase or plead. I didn't. Instead, I reached into the drawer, pulled out the spare set of keys, and tossed them onto the bed. They landed with a dull clink against the blanket. "If this is what you want, then take the car too. I won't stop you." Her mouth opened, then shut. For a split second, doubt flickered across her face, a small tremor in her bravado. But then she scooped up the keys, zipped the suitcase shut with a sharp tug, and marched toward the door without another word. I listened to the echo of her heels on the hardwood floor, the front door clicking shut, the car engine roaring to life, and finally, silence. The house was empty. But for the first time in months, I felt something unexpected, relief. The next 7 days moved differently. The quiet was strange at first, but not unbearable. I worked late, cooked simple meals for myself, and slept without the weight of arguments pressing down on me. The bed felt too large, but I no longer dreaded the nights. Every corner of the house that had once felt suffocating now breathed again. Still, a small voice inside me wondered, would she come back? That question was answered a week later. At 7:00 p.m., the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Emily standing there, suitcase in hand, her expression softer, almost sheepish. Her makeup was faded, her hair loosely tied. Not the polished version of her I knew. "Daniel," she said, her voice shaky. I needed space, but I realize now, I made a mistake. Can we talk?" Her perfume, once familiar, now smelled foreign, almost out of place in the entryway. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I stepped aside. She smiled faintly, rolling her suitcase inside as if reclaiming her throne. But when she walked into the bedroom, she froze. The walls weren't bare anymore. The framed photo of us on the nightstand was gone, replaced by a vase of fresh flowers. The bedspread had been swapped for a darker shade, and the closet doors were ajar, revealing a new arrangement of clothes that weren't hers. Even the scent was different, lavender instead of her citrus perfume. And when she reached for her phone to connect to the Wi-Fi, the network name had changed. The password no longer worked. Her eyes widened as she spun toward me. What is this?" Before I could answer, a soft voice floated from the kitchen. "Daniel, do you want me to pour you some tea?" Emily's face drained of color. "Because?" Standing in the kitchen doorway was Claire, her former best friend. The air went thick with silence. as if even the walls themselves were holding their breath. Emily's suitcase tipped onto its side, spilling clothes across the floor as she stumbled backward, her face pale. "Claire!" she gasped, her voice breaking like glass. What is she doing here, Daniel?" Claire stepped forward with a calmness that was almost unnerving, a cup of steaming tea steady in her hand. Her long hair fell loose over her shoulders, her expression cool and unreadable, as though she had been preparing for this exact confrontation. "I live here," she said simply. Emily blinked, her eyes wide, confusion battling with disbelief. She let out a sharp, high laugh that sounded more like a choke. You can't. This is my home, my marriage. She whirled toward me, her voice shrill, desperate. "Tell me she's lying, Daniel. Tell me this is some kind of cruel joke." But I didn't flinch, not this time. "She's not lying," I said evenly, my voice carrying the weight of every sleepless night she had left me in. "You left. You said it yourself. This is your life, and you'd leave whenever you wanted. So you did. And now—" I glanced at Claire, who slipped her hand lightly into mine, her presence grounding me. Now life moved on. Emily's jaw fell slack. Her eyes darted between us, as though the air had been sucked out of the room, and she couldn't breathe. Her voice cracked into a broken whisper. "You two? When did this? How long?" Claire's lips curved into a small, knowing smile, one that wasn't cruel, but unyielding. "Since the night you walked out at 3 a.m., you thought you were leaving him behind, but what you really did was leave him free." Emily staggered back, her hand gripping the edge of the dresser for balance, her perfectly polished nails scratching against the wood. My best friend, you betrayed me." "No," Claire said firmly, her voice like a knife cutting through the accusation. "You betrayed yourself. You threw away something good, thinking you could come back whenever you pleased. You always thought Daniel would wait, no matter how recklessly you treated him. But he didn't, and neither did I." Emily's face twisted, torn between rage and despair. Tears brimming in her eyes threatened to fall, but she blinked furiously, refusing to show weakness. "You can't just replace me." I stepped closer, letting the power of the truth weigh down every word. "Emily, you replaced yourself. That night, when you said, 'This is my life. I'll leave whenever I want,' you made your choice. And choices." I paused, letting her feel the sting. Come with consequences. Her breathing grew erratic. She shook her head violently, muttering, No, this isn't real." She grabbed her phone like a lifeline, her thumb scrolling desperately, but reality hit harder than any argument could. The Wi-Fi password had changed. The streaming accounts were gone. The bank accounts had new logins. Her keys no longer fit the locks. Every thread she once pulled to control this household had been cut. She was a ghost in a home she once ruled. Finally, her voice broke into a whisper, so faint I almost missed it. "I thought you'd always be here." I swallowed, steady but not unkind. "I was," I said quietly, "until you weren't." For a long moment, she just stood there, trembling, her mascara smudged under her eyes. Then, with a sound somewhere between a sob and a bitter laugh, she dragged her suitcase toward the door. Her movements were jerky, uneven, as though she couldn't decide whether to scream or collapse. Claire and I stood side by side as the door slammed shut behind her, the echo reverberating through the house, like the final note of a song we'd both outgrown. The silence that followed was nothing like the silence she had left me in a week ago. That silence had been hollow, suffocating, filled with absence, This silence was warm, steady, anchored by something new. Claire squeezed my hand, her voice softer now. "She'll never forgive me," she murmured. "She doesn't have to," I replied. "She just has to live with the truth." And outside, somewhere in the night, Emily faced a reality she had never once considered. She had left me at 3 a.m., and by the time she returned, she wasn't coming home, because home had already changed its locks, its furniture, its Wi-Fi password, and its heart for good.